The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I'm Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Tonight, we're coming to you around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and on Channel 34 on Simul TV. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And tonight's a very special hour here on the X Zone. It's a serious topic, and I know for a fact that many people listening tonight are going to say thank you to our guest. Her name is Dr. CHERYL L. Green, and she is a lifestyle psychiatrist based in Southern California and the author of Heal Your Daughter, How Lifestyle Psychiatry Can Save Her from Depression, Cutting, and Suicidal Thoughts, and the Heal Your Daughter workbook, 6 weeks to feeling good with lifestyle psychiatry. Dr. Green works part-time at the Loma Linda University School of Medicine and part-time in her own private practice based in Greater Los Angeles area. She holds degrees from Harvard University, Princeton University, Stanford University School of Medicine, and she is a board-certified psychiatry, child and adolescent psychiatry, and lifestyle medicine. Her passion is inspiring others to achieve vibrant physical and mental health. Her website, www.CHERYLLGreenMD.com. And joining me now from California is Dr. Green. And Dr. Green, welcome to the X Zone.
The warm welcome, Rob. I appreciate it.
Dr. Green, this is, you and I were talking briefly before we went to air, and this is a problem that seems to be on the rise. And as a doctor and as a psychiatrist, what do you think in society is causing all these issues that we're seeing with the youth of today, especially the young ladies?
Yes. Well, CDC just released a report. It's called the Youth Risk Behavior Survey from 2011 to 2021. And in it, you're right, it chronicles an astonishing rise, but a lot of the rise was actually during the pandemic, such that now, 57% of high school girls were persistently depressed or hopeless in the past year, like 30% had suicidal thoughts, and a quarter had suicidal thoughts with a plan, which is the criterion for inpatient admission. With a quarter of girls like this, our healthcare system certainly can't address that. But as to why, that is the $1 million question. We don't know, you can't do randomized controlled studies of that kind of thing, but we do know that certain things changed over the pandemic years. There was an increase in drug use. There was an increase in trauma. There was an increase in school failure because, it's really hard to learn math through a little tiny screen or a little tiny thing up on the screen. No opportunity to ask questions really meaningfully or interact with peers who are figuring it out also. There were so many changes. There was an increase in social isolation. That's probably number one, because really social media was displacing and replacing real relationships. And that's so critical for teen girls, so critical. Those relationships are their life, and they were often displaced. And, social media is no surrogate for real relationships. In fact, we know that the more hours spent on social media, with every increasing hour spent on social media, depression scores rise.
My
So they
gosh.
don't fall, they rise. And that's really a well-established fact. There have been multiple studies, multiple meta-analyses even. So we know that for a fact. Social media use increases depressive symptoms. And we even have some speculations about why that is, but that's probably a topic for another day.
Is it have you seen an increase in this prior to COVID, since the advent of everyone carrying an iPhone to school instead of paying more attention to the class and to you know, socializing with other classmates as well as friends? Everybody hops on the good old iPhone and spend hours and hours and hours on it. What does this do when it comes to the the teen girls and the depression and suicide thoughts? Does peer pressure play into this formula as well?
Yeah, I think it can. They found out some of the mechanisms whereby social media can increase depression are, there's something called a fear of missing out. And then there's the social comparisons. Everybody posts their very best shots on social media. They're at their best ever. They're most glamorous, most, popular looking. And girls tend to believe that and take it at face value and say,
Wow.
wow, I can never be that good. And they compare themselves, they feel inadequate. I believe that is part of it. And certainly your point about carrying around a cell phone, where that kind of social comparison isn't just once in a while anymore. It's in your pocket.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
every day, every moment you're comparing yourself and feeling inadequate. And yeah, it's really a new development. I think one of the people who said it best about social media is actually, his name is Jaron Lanier, or Lanier, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. He is a kind of a Silicon Valley whistleblower. He sold several companies to Google, and he wrote a book that has the arguments right there on the back of the cover: 10 reasons to delete your social media accounts right now. And I think that's he has a very powerful series of reasons why social media can make you depressed right there.
When I was growing up and going to school, we all had to wear white shirts, a tie, gray flannels, and black shoes. All the boys had to wear that, and then the girls also had a dress code. It seems that once the dress codes went, I remember my son telling me that, Dad, the young guy went to school, and now it's who's wearing the best running shoes. And then it seems it's gone from who's wearing the best running shoes, who can afford the best running shoes, to who can afford the best iPhone. And I don't know. I think that we've given way too many liberties, and these liberties are starting to bite us in the butt where we never expected them to come from.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Yeah, a lot of feeling bad is feeling, under the eight ball, behind the eight ball economically, like, oh, my parents aren't as rich as their parents. I don't have all the doodads that they have. Yeah, that can certainly be a factor, and it's really, really sad.
Let me ask you, Doctor, what is it that made you interested in this topic of teen girls, depression, cutting, and suicidal thoughts?
Well, apart from the fact that it's my job, it is my bread and butter. I have 5 intensive outpatient groups at Loma, Linda, 5 groups. I see about 40 of these kids who are beyond normal, psychiatric visits. They're like just out of the hospital. So they're in this mode of, I need 3 visits a week, 3 hours a visit. I need all that extra support. Chronically suicidal or cutting, or who knows what, using drugs, things like that. So I see these girls every week. Many of them are cutting, many of them are actively suicidal. And so, we help a little bit in these groups, but there's so much that parents can do at home. And the biggest question I am getting, and to this day get all the time, at least once a week, is, I want to help my daughter, but I don't know how. So the book was written actually to address that question. I want to help my daughter. I don't know how. Tell me what to do. What can I do? And so I wrote the book with that in mind. It's a book to the parents or caregivers, to the grandmothers, whoever it is who's taking care of the kids, the fathers, whoever it is taking care of the kids, and to say, hey, these are evidence-based, evidence-backed, proven things that can make your kid feel better. Are they addressing the problems that the kid perceives? Not necessarily, no, but they are addressing certainly things that can make that kid feel better and more resilient and more able to face and address and cope with what is going on in that kid's life. So, these are ways, things like exercise, 20 minutes to feeling better right now. There's simple things that you can do to make your kid feel better and to make it long enough to address the real causes, the underlying causes.
Would it be fair to say that these problems only occurred in the vast numbers that you're seeing them now, as well as the CDC statistics, since the advent of modern technology?
Yeah, I think that is fair. Yeah, we've seen the numbers exponentially rise. We saw a rise starting about in 2010, and that is, 2007 is the advent of the iPhone. People started getting it more and more. So it could have something to do with that. We don't know all of the reasons again, but it is new. It is not normal. It's the new normal, the new abnormal, as they're saying. But in the old days, we used to look at kids, happy as a child, was an expression. It was normal for kids to be happy and gleeful and running about and shouting with joy. Now we're seeing a totally different picture. And I think that the teens are the canaries in the coal mine for what's happening in our society. If it's 57% of the teens, what does that say about our society? What does it say?
In your opinion, what are some of the signs and symptoms that a parent should look out for when, trying to be a proactive parent and, not themselves sitting in front of their computer, their laptop, or their iPhone, but actually taking an interest in their child? What should they look out for?
That's a great question, because, a lot of parents will assume that whatever their kid is doing is, oh yeah, it's different, but it's probably normal teen behavior. Teen behavior is different. It is different. Teens are more isolative. They will spend more time alone in their room. They will kind of, view parents as maybe not as cool as they once were. And they'll reach out to their peers more than they ever did before. All of that's normal. And also the sleep schedule shifts. So they stay up later. They want to sleep later today. Those things are kind of like normal, generic, and maybe they're a little more independent, more irritable. That's all just plain old normal teenager stuff. But what's not normal, and the real warning signs, that kid is not coming out of the bed at all, or that kid is not coming out of the room at all. They're not wanting to interact with anybody. You see evidence of maybe some cutting going on. And cutting, we know, even if it's very superficial, cutting is a red flag warning warning sign. Cutting, we know that people who complete suicide, people who die by suicide, they are 10 times more likely to have been cutters than, equally depressed people who don't. We know that it's kind of like a rehearsal. You feel stress, cut, stress, cut, stress, cut. You're training the brain so that when there's a bigger stress later on, that's when people tend to actually injure themselves in a serious way. So cutting is a red flag. I wanted to just say a couple others.
Sure, please.
Not eating. If they stop eating, my gosh, quickly address that.
Sure.
If they are texting their friends, or if a friend's parent or a friend calls you an alarm, so-and-so just texted me that they're considering suicide, really take that seriously, because nearly all of the actual suicide attempts, they are preceded by some sort of reaching out, texting a friend, hey, I'm going to do something to myself. Or God forbid, looking online, like if you look at the history in the computer, are they researching ways they can die? You know, are they hoarding their medications? Some people hoard Tylenol, or you see extra bottles. All of these are really just warning symbol. They scream, you know, get your child professional help, really. And it's professional help they need at that point. But above and beyond that is what I'm talking about in terms of these things you can do with the book. All of this help is stuff you can kind of surround the kid with these supports at home as well.
Doctor, please stand by. I've got to take my first break. Dr. CHERYL Green, MD, is our special guest this hour, Exonation. Please go to her website after this show. If you know somebody, if you're a parent and you want to take affirmative, positive action, because the responsibility lies with each and every one of us. Everyone is responsible. I know that as a former police officer. I know that as my wife is a former nurse. Everybody needs to open their eyes and help each other. These are strange times and they demand action. So please visit the doctor's website after tonight's broadcast. Her website is CHERYL, CHERYL Green, MD.com. And the name of her book is Heal Your Daughter, How Lifestyle Psychiatry Can Save Her from Depression, Cutting, and Suicidal Thoughts. Serious topic. Let's take note. Let's be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Question: what is the name of the unique blend of coffee you get that has been formulated by a neurologist, a neurobiologist, and a pharmaceutical chemist? Answer: you get Beautiful Mind Coffee, a unique coffee blend that tastes great and has herbal ingredients that your brain will love, and it is not just coffee, it's brainalicious. Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, the scientific team that created Beautiful Mind Coffee, decided to collaborate on a coffee focusing on brain health. As for those herbal ingredients found in Beautiful Mind Coffee, Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, utilizing their combined extensive scientific research background, worked with many natural and herbal products until the exact formulation that is found in Beautiful Mind Coffee was created. With a unique scientific formula not found in any other coffee being sold or served, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Every cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee contains scientifically formulated amounts of maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng, all supporting good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older, just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Did you know that cognitive dysfunction also refers to deficits in attention, verbal and nonverbal learning, short-term and working memory, visual and auditory processing, problem-solving, processing speed, and motor functioning? For more on Beautiful Mind Coffee, the 3 scientists who formulated Beautiful Mind Coffee, and more details on the 3 unique herbal ingredients in Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available online at amazon.ca and amazon.com. To order Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca today.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for staying with us this hour here on the X Zone. Dr. CHERYL Green, MD, is our guest this hour, and her website is CHERYLLGreenMD.com. Dr. Green, what exactly is lifestyle psychiatry?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're in the process of figuring that out right now. It's a very dynamically evolving field, let me say, but lifestyle medicine is its basis and will always remain its basis. Lifestyle medicine is a board-certified field of medicine. The first board certifications were made available in 2017, and it is the codification of all the science behind how to make a body healthy. And it comes in 6 domains. There's nutrition, detoxification, there is exercise, sleep medicine, there is social and emotional connectedness / wellness, and there's stress reduction. All of those are really key, and there's a boatload of evidence for each one for helping your physical body to be healthy. So it's a form of medicine that doesn't just kind of address symptoms and throw a medication at each symptom and hope it'll go away. No, it's something that goes deeper. It tries to create health. And so lifestyle psychiatry is the application of that to mental health issues, really. I think that's what it should be. There's a big discussion, should lifestyle psychiatry include digital interventions and this, that, and the other. But I really think it should stick very closely to the basis in lifestyle medicine and just apply that to mental health, straight across. That's my personal view. And that's the kind of view of it that I've tried to embody in the book.
I would imagine that besides the peer pressure, that technical addiction is a big part of this problem that the youth of today are facing. And how do we get them to sever the umbilical cord between the hand, the device, and the ear?
Right. Yeah, I know, because, if you go online and look up, biggest freakouts of all time, what those all are is episodes where a parent has taken a video game away from a son, usually, and you see this freak out, head banging and, thrashing of the limbs and screaming. It is a legitimate addiction, I think. The video games and the social media, they are actually addictions. And on fMRI, on the brain scan called fMRI, when you look at that, they look no different from a cocaine addiction. So they are very serious addictions. How do you, that is a very good question. I think similarly to all addictions, it begins with educating your teen that this is harmful. Once they know, it makes that less attractive right there, bang off the dot. And then I think, harm reduction is really the goal, kind of putting in limits, putting in filters, step by step, kind of weaning them to other things. I think it won't happen in a day or even a year, but, ultimately, I think the quality of what these things are doing to their brains. For example, there were even studies out of Taiwan where there are some very serious video gamers there, 16 hours a day and up versus 2 hours a day and less. And they actually had brain shrinkage of the cortex when you're doing video gaming to that degree. So that's why, the recommendation from American Academy of Pediatrics and then the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, they recommend a max of 2 hours a day on screens. So
the percentage 57% is staggering. Like when I read that in the information that you were so kind to send us, I was floored. Like I knew there was a problem, but to see 57%, it's it's just gone way overboard, and we have to do something about it now. And God bless you. You're certainly doing your share, and so are other mental health professionals and other medical members of the community. But when I look at the teens, my pleasure, ma'am. When I look at the teens and watch what they eat, It's all the synthetic food. A lot of it has artificial sweeteners in it, and we all know what aspartame can do and what aspartame is. Um, and then you've got the addictions of drugs in, I would imagine, a good majority of the cases. And then the addiction of the electronic factor. These poor kids, no wonder. And what really boggles my imagination, doctor, is how come the parents aren't watching what the children are doing? Where is the educators in the school telling the children, teaching them the right from the wrong, telling them? I remember when I was in school, we had a science class, we had a health class. You were taught things that would help you as you went through the ages and into society. But today it seems that the children are just kind of, well, this is it, gang. You're on your own. Hope to see you next year. And even if you fail, you're up the next grade. What do we do, doctor? Like this, this is a talk about a COVID pandemic. I think that this is a pandemic as well.
Yeah, it's true. The depression is through the roof, and who can help? I don't know that anybody's being particularly negligent so much as people are overwhelmed. Teachers are overwhelmed. Often teachers are afraid of the kids. They're afraid. Some of them are afraid of the kids. The climate in schools now has changed.
Well, and I think the teachers have a lot to do with this change. Instead of calling your teacher Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, it's on a first name basis. Teachers don't dress like teachers anymore. They don't want to be your teacher. They want to be your best friend. And I think that this was the start and the downfall of what I call structured education. My kids call it something else when I talk to them about it, but you need structure. No matter if you're at home, no matter if you're at school, and if you're at work, structure is a basic necessity, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just that the world has changed so greatly since, say, the 1960s. Since the 1960s, when this whole generation gap concept,
Right.
Parents are not cool. You gotta ignore them. We're doing our own thing now. Things have changed, and the discipline that parents used to raise their kids with, that has all been made, somewhat illegal. Actually, I mean, you can't not physically discipline your kids anymore. They can call CPS and have you put in jail. I mean, things have changed dramatically, and I think it's no one element's fault so much. It's just a massive changes in society. But there are concrete things you can do to create a little island of safety within your home.
What are they, doctor?
Well, I think the things that can create a little island of safety within your own home are, first of all, sounds like what you've done with your kids already is the first step, which is creating and forging that bond with your kid that maybe isn't there. And what is a bond? What is a relationship? It's time spent with that kid, and it's open and honest communication.
Yeah.
That's the basis of a relationship. You cannot have a real relationship if it's a lie on top of another lie, on top of another lie, on top of another lie. It has to be honest. We have to start where we are in that relationship. And if the starting is, I hate you because, well, then it has to start with, I hate you because, that's where it has to start if it's honestly going to get any better. So making that relationship, and then the work can begin. You can say, hey, I love you. I want you to feel better. Here are some facts. I know these facts. These will make you get better. You can educate yourself about lifestyle and the things that actually help people feel better. And you can start creating that environment at home, that milieu of health at home. I'm doing it. You're doing it. It's what we do. We're no longer buying the processed foods. We're going to get these, unprocessed foods. We're going to stick to the basics of health and nutrition. We're going to take a walk together every day. We're going to implement all of these changes. That's kind of where it starts.
Even though your book is entitled "Heal Your Daughter," listening to you, this could easily apply to a son as well. Heal your son.
Yeah, actually it could. A
Yeah.
lot of it can, except there are far fewer, 95% of the people I see are
Mhm.
teen girls.
Yeah.
So I addressed it at them because and there aren't as many teen boys who are cutting right now.
Really?
Maybe they burn themselves. Um, Not as many cut. And it's not the same type of cutting. Often the boys I've seen who cut have made, tremendous, it looks like they've taken a machete to themselves. It's
Oh,
not the
good
same at
Lord.
all. It's not the same. It's, things are a little different with boys. And I think the reason for the cutting
Mhm.
with boys is a little different. And I wanted to just stick with kind of what I
Okay.
know. But you're right. Most of this book applies to guys as well. It does apply to teen boys, a lot of it.
Let's say mom takes the daughter to the emergency ward because the child has, is showing cutting. What are the obligations of the medical practitioners when it comes to a teen that comes into their emergency ward and they can see that this child is deliberately cutting?
Well, not all cutting will buy you an admission to the hospital, but a lot of it will. If you ask for, recent suicidality,
Mhm.
that cutting is an expression of a suicidal thought, and that's a plan. I was going to cut myself and get in the bathtub or whatever it may be. They admit, but if it's just, no, my friend was cutting, I thought I'd try it out, then they won't necessarily admit. But if you have that kind of issue going on, usually there's a root for that cutting. And sometimes the root and the root of the root can be very deep. Sometimes they can be things like sexual trauma that has never been disclosed, that kind of very deep root. And
And
that
that
needs to be addressed.
and that's where you come in, the professional, to get to the bottom of the deep root and what the actual cause is. How do you deal with the parents? Because I would imagine that a lot of parents are in denial. So how would you deal with a parent? Because I'm sure parents come in as guarded. Well, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know. We've given her a good home. We've given her everything she's ever wanted. She's wanted for nothing, and yet here she's cutting. How do you deal with that?
I find it really hard to generalize about the
Mhm.
parents because I've seen parents of all kinds, and I see in a given week, I see parents just across the board. I mean, some are just totally in the dark. It's like,
Yeah.
she's what? And they want to help, and there's this rush of, and then there are some who are in denial or kind of angry. There are some parents who are angry, like, she's cutting. How dare she? How dare she cut when I've given her
Oh,
everything?
Lord, eh?
How can she be? And I see the whole gamut. So I wouldn't really generalize like that. I do
Okay.
think, though, at least I have a self-selecting audience of people that come to me because, I'm there at Loma Linda
Mhm.
in these intensive outpatient programs. Only parents who are willing to contribute at least 1 hour 3 times a week and to make sure their daughters get there. So that's a very high, uh, you know, high help group type of parent. And most of them do wish the best and want the best for their kid. The people who don't show up are the ones I worry about. The ones who say, yeah, I'll show up, and they never do show up. You wonder what's happening to those families.
How does a child who doesn't have a supportive parent succeed in your program and get better?
They can't. They cannot.
Oh.
They cannot. The whole basis of the program is to build up that connection and communication so that
Mm.
going forward, the kid will be supported at home, because the programs are only 8 to 10 weeks.
Right.
After that, they're at the parents' mercy. They really are. They have to have a good relationship with that parent.
Dr. Green, stand by. We've got to take our final break. Exonation, Dr. Cheryl Green is our guest, and her website is CHERYL MD.com, and we'll be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, and my very special guest this hour, Dr. CHERYL L. Green, MD. And once again, the name of her book is Heal Your Daughter, and how lifestyle psychiatry can save her from depression, cutting, and suicidal thoughts. Do me a favor, X Zone Nation, go to that website, find out more, get a book, be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. We'll both be back as we wrap up. Don't go away.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Wow, 57%. Dr. CHERYL Green is our special guest. CHERYL L. Green, MD.com. First of all, Dr. Green, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for writing your book, and thank you for caring as much as you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you for, having me on. This is really great. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure, ma'am. We've got about, Craig, how long do we have? 4 minutes? What are your final thoughts for the X Zone Nation tonight, Doctor? What can we do? What can the public do in order to help this growing problem?
Well, I want to say, let's leave it on a really positive note, because that's the true one. The true one is, I see every day kids completely turning around. I see complete miracles all the time. Almost all of the patients who come out of these programs that we have, the intensive outpatient kind of 8 to 10 week programs, almost all of them benefit tremendously. They actually rate the programs. They rate them very highly. They feel better. These girls are helpable. What's chronic suicidality does not remain chronic if they get the help they need from connecting with that parent or grandparent or whoever it is who's bringing them in. And if they implement simple changes, in their lives.
I understand that the home support is very important in these programs. Well, what about the kids where the parents don't give that support?
Totally, yeah. That's the critical thing. And, for sure, they're not as resilient. Many of them manage to get through life, but it's way harder for them. Way harder. We have a lot of kids that we see on the inpatient unit bumping around from foster family to foster family to foster family because of violence and aggression, which in turn is triggered by something the foster family is doing. We have those kind of patients, and all we can do is pray, honestly. Honestly, I pray for those kids who don't have the family support they really need. And I think it's not a want or a wish, it's an actual need. So I just pray for them. And fortunately, on the inpatient unit, we do have some wonderful nurses. And I think some of the kids come back again and again because that nurse is supportive.
Right.
You see that all the time. It's like they're throwing out lifelines and, because that's what they need, that support.
Does the judicial system get involved in trying to work with you and work with the children who do not have the support or who are not fortunate enough to have the home support in order to get through these programs?
as you know, as a former policeman, they have CPS, the Child Protective Services,
yeah.
that comes in that, tries to protect them. We don't have enough, support for that service. Unfortunately, it's not all it could be, but it's the only thing we have, the Child Protective Services, and it goes county by county. Each county has a different service. Yeah.
Again, Dr. Green, thank you so much for joining us. Let our listeners know how they can find out more about you and where they can buy your book.
Oh, well, thanks so much. The book is Heal Your Daughter, and it's available everywhere. Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's available on BookBaby website. There is a companion. Now, Heal Your Daughter is for parents or caregivers. There's a Heal Your Daughter workbook that you can work with your daughter for.
Oh, cool.
So the Heal Your Daughter workbook is the sequel. And that's also at all of those sites.
Dr. Green, I'd love to have you back on in the future. Again, thank you for everything you do. And from everyone here around the world listening tonight, I'm sure many people are saying thank you for your hard work and what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Rob. My hat's off to you for spreading all the good information you spread. I really appreciate it. I've had a chance to tune into some of your shows. It's incredible information.
Well,
thank you so much for doing what you do.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Have a safe evening, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye-bye, Dr. Green. Exonation, our guest this hour was Dr. CHERYL Green, MD, and her website is CHERYLLGreenMD.com. She's in Redlands, California, and the name of her book is Heal Your Daughter, How Lifestyle Psychiatry Can Save Her from Depression, Cutting, and Suicidal Thoughts. I'll be back on the other side of this break with the news as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Whatever you do, don't go away.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.